Jr. was on Capitol Hill this week testifying about being detained last month at the Fort Lauderdale airport over his faith.
Immigration pulled me aside and asked me 3 questions. They asked me what was my name, and they asked me about where did I get my name from, who gave me my name. They asked me, what was your religion? And I was like, I'm Muslim.
TSA doesn't really ask about your religion, but anyway, would you believe this? Just after that testimony, on his way home, Ali claims he was detained again before his flight from Washington, D.C. to Florida.
Yeah, the media reported it as a fact, but is this story real or just another political ploy to discredit the president's policies?
So for more on this is Fox News contributor Katie Pavlich. Katie, thanks for getting up early with us this morning.
Hey, Katie.
So this story just sort of feels fishy. Talks about being detained and agents, previously asking about his religion. This second incident going through, is this real or is this, are these fake news headlines?
I'm calling fake news. I think it's very unfair for Mr. Ali to be accusing immigration enforcement agents who are doing their job to keep bad people out of the country by simply asking questions at the airport. In terms of where he was coming from Jamaica, which isn't on the list of the recent countries that were through the executive order, but it is a foreign country. And he was asked, according to the reporting, for his passport because he was coming into the United States from a foreign country. Imagine that. He was asked a couple of questions. I don't believe for 2 seconds that he was asked about his religion. I don't believe that he was asked, who gave him his name. Those are not standard protocol questions. And I think it's really unfair that he's accusing agents of asking those questions with not a lot of proof and not allowing themselves to defend themselves when he knows that they can't, right? So I think it's very unfair.
Yeah, so he went from D.C. to Florida, is that right?
It's
For the part of the flight?
Yeah.
You don't go through immigration, though, when you go that route, right? So there are a lot of parts of this that you just are scratching your head and you almost want to be a fly on the wall through this whole journey, wondering what's real and what's false, because you're only getting one side of the story here from him. And that's the problem. In the mainstream media, they determine what the rest of the country hears, and it might all be false.
Well, right, and nobody likes TSA, but guess what? We all go through it. I've been pulled over at TSA before and asked a number of questions because I was traveling to wherever. This idea that he simply says he was asked about his religion and therefore it is true is ridiculous. And here's the thing. There are situations where there's religious discrimination in this country against a number of people. And when he goes and says these things without evidence and makes these charges, it actually waters down everything into the point where no one is believed. And so I think it's very, again, unfair for him to be able to make these claims from the media, then to run with it as fact. And really it's just another undermining of the administration and arguing that this executive order is somehow affecting domestic flights, which absolutely not.
Well, and Pete, holding up traffic, right? He refused to take off his jewelry to go through security.
So he's going through, he's at Reagan after his testimony. This is the second time. And he's had an Illinois ID card, which looks a little odd, so they double check that. Then he refuses to take off some heavy jewelry before going to the metal detector. He has a total of an 11-minute delay that he calls himself being detained. And those are the headlines that come.
Well, look, if you're not going to cooperate at the airport, no matter who you are, you're going to get, quote, detained, whether it's for 11 minutes or 20 or an hour. Taking off your jewelry at the airport and being asked about it and asked to do it is not religious discrimination, despite what he has claimed. Just cooperate, do what you're told, get through security, and get to your flight.
And Katie, what we have on screen right now, maybe the cherry on top, Debbie Wasserman Schultz just happened to be on his flight, and here's what she put out on social media. She says, on the way home on a domestic flight, Muhammad Ali Jr. detained again by the government, religiously profiling son of the greatest, will not make us safe. Your thoughts?
Debbie Wasserman Schultz putting out something that is not verified. Are we really surprised about this? I'm certainly not. This sounds a lot like Clock Boy to me, where he brought that clock that looked like a bomb to school to get attention, and then we find out that his father is politically motivated, involved in all kinds of organizations that have pretty suspicious ties. This sounds a lot like that, and again, I think that the media should do a better job of telling the other side of the story and not just taking what he says as fact and religious discrimination when it sounds like he just wasn't following the rules like the rest of us to get through TSA.
That's the fantastic point there, because every article after the headline also quotes his quotes about what he thought it was, and it's always the Muslim ban and the discrimination.
Yeah, but we all wait 11 or more minutes to get through.
Exactly.
When I think detained, I think Guantanamo Bay, not 11 minutes by the TSA. So,
Katie, thank you. Always good to see you.